Imagine walking into a billionaire's bedroom and finding $250,000 in cash scattered across the bed. No cameras. No witnesses. Just you, temptation, and silence. Most people would fail that test. But what happened next shocked even the billionaire himself. Before we dive into this powerful story of loyalty, betrayal, and the true price of integrity, don't forget to support the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this one. They say money reveals the truth about people. Some believe it brings out the best in you, others the worst. But in this story, a billionaire decided to find out for himself. One evening, inside his vast mansion, a place so large it felt like a city of its own, the billionaire had a strange idea. He wanted to know whether the people around him were loyal, or if they were simply blinded by his wealth. So he came up with a plan. He walked into his master bedroom, opened his vault, and pulled out stacks upon stacks of crisp $100 bills. He didn't count them at first, but by the time he was done, he had emptied $250,000, $250,000 in cash. He didn't place the money neatly. No. He scattered it across his king-sized bed, letting it spill over the sheets, the pillows, even onto the floor. It looked like a storm of green paper had torn through the room. And then he called for someone. Not his accountant. Not his lawyer. Not even his personal assistant. He called for his black security guard, the man he trusted to watch his mansion day and night. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and whispered to himself, "Let's see what loyalty is really worth." The guard walked into the room with his usual calm presence. Broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, disciplined. Years of training had taught him to stay professional no matter the situation. But even he couldn't ignore what he saw when he entered the bedroom. Cash. Everywhere. The guard paused at the door, his hand still resting on the knob. He glanced at the billionaire, then back at the bed, as if trying to make sure his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. "Sir," he finally said, his voice low but steady, "do you know your money is all over the place?" The billionaire didn't answer at first. He only studied the guard's face, waiting for the smallest twitch of greed. The widened eyes, the twitching fingers, the restless feet. But the guard didn't move. He stood firm, hands behind his back, posture straight. The billionaire smirked. "Tell me," he asked, "what would you do if I told you to watch over this money, alone, for the entire night?" The guard's brow furrowed. "I would do exactly that, sir." The billionaire leaned forward, pressing harder. "And what if temptation came? No cameras, no one watching but you. Just you and a bed full of money. Would you take it?" The guard shook his head slowly. "No, sir. Because my integrity is worth more than this cash." The billionaire chuckled under his breath. But inside, he wasn't laughing. This was only the beginning of his test. That night stretched on longer than most. The billionaire had deliberately left no cameras in his bedroom. Just the guard, the bed of cash, and silence. He stayed awake in his private study, thinking, what if he takes some? What if he proves that loyalty is nothing but a word? Hours passed. Midnight came and went. The mansion was silent except for the ticking of an antique clock. But the guard never moved. He stood by the door like a statue, alert but calm, his eyes scanning the room every few seconds. Not once did his gaze linger on the money. Still, the billionaire wasn't convinced. He wanted proof. At around 2 in the morning, he decided to test again. He walked into the room, pretending to be half asleep, and purposely dropped a thick envelope of cash near the guard's feet. The envelope burst open, bills spilling across the polished floor. The billionaire yawned dramatically. "Oops," he muttered. "Seems I've got too much money to care about." Then he walked back out without picking up a single bill. The guard bent down, not to pocket the money, but to gather every note carefully. He placed the envelope neatly back on the bed, then returned to his position, expression unreadable. And the billionaire, watching secretly from the hallway, began to wonder. Was this man truly loyal, or just playing a long game? The next morning, sunlight filled the mansion. The billionaire entered his room again, cash still scattered like autumn leaves. He studied the guard. Still firm. Still loyal. So he escalated the test. He said, "You've worked for me for years, yet I've never given you a bonus like I should have. Tell me, don't you ever wonder what life would be like if you had just one stack of this money?" The guard inhaled slowly but answered without hesitation. "Sir, I don't measure my life by stacks of money. I measure it by peace of mind. And if I took this, I'd lose that peace forever." The billionaire tilted his head. "Peace doesn't buy your children new clothes. Peace doesn't put food on the table." The guard's eyes hardened. "But stealing destroys the foundation I want to leave behind for them. I'd rather give my children a father they can respect than money that came from betrayal." For the first time, the billionaire was silent. He hadn't expected such an answer. What the guard didn't know was this. While the billionaire had said there were no cameras in the bedroom, he had actually hidden a small, nearly invisible recording device in the corner of the chandelier. For 2 full nights, he recorded everything. Every sigh. Every step. Every moment of temptation. And the footage revealed one thing. The guard had never once touched the money. Not even a finger brushed against the bills. He had stood faithfully, like a soldier on duty, all while hundreds of thousands of dollars lay within reach. The billionaire leaned back in his leather chair, watching the footage in silence. Was this man truly the rare kind of loyalty money couldn't buy? On the third morning, the billionaire called the guard into his study. The guard stood at attention, as he always did. Calm, professional, unreadable. The billionaire opened a drawer and pulled out the hidden camera. He placed it on the desk, pressing play. The footage began to roll, the cash-covered bed, the silent hours, the guard unmoving. Slowly, the guard's eyes widened. He realized he had been watched all along. The billionaire folded his hands together. "Do you know why I did this?" The guard shook his head. "To test you," the billionaire said. "To see if you could resist the one thing that corrupts even the strongest of men. Money." The room fell into silence. The billionaire rose from his chair, walked around the desk, and stood face to face with his guard. "And you passed." The billionaire walked back to his desk and pulled out a checkbook. He wrote something down, signed it, tore the page, and handed it over. The guard looked at it. His eyes widened again. It was a check, not for 1,000, not for 10,000, but for $250,000. The exact same amount of money that had been scattered across the bed. The guard stammered, "Sir, I don't understand." The billionaire smiled. "That money was never meant for me to keep. It was meant for the man who could look it in the face and walk away untouched. You proved that your loyalty isn't for sale. And that is priceless." The guard's throat tightened. For the first time in years, emotion cracked through his professional shell. He took the check slowly, almost afraid it would disappear. The billionaire sat back down, his voice softer now. "Do you know what I've learned, watching you these last few days?" he asked. The guard shook his head. That loyalty is the rarest currency in the world. You can buy service. You can buy smiles. You can even buy fake friendship. But you cannot buy loyalty. That has to be earned. The guard nodded, his voice steady again. And respect, sir, must be given both ways. For the first time, the billionaire extended his hand. And the guard, hesitating only for a moment, shook it firmly. Word spread, not through gossip, not through rumor, but because the billionaire himself told it. At a charity gala weeks later, when asked why he donated so generously, he told the crowd, "I once tested a man with $250,000, and he proved to me that some things are worth more than money. I want to invest in people like that." The guard, who stood quietly at the back of the room, never sought attention. But in that moment, every eye in the hall turned toward him. And for once, the billionaire didn't mind sharing the spotlight. Years later, the guard would look back on that night, the night he stood before a bed covered in temptation and chose integrity instead. That choice changed not just his life, but his children's lives and their children's after them. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is say no. And as for the billionaire, he learned that the greatest wealth he could ever hold wasn't the money in his vaults, but the trust of the few people who could not be bought. And that, my friends, is why this story isn't just about money. It's about loyalty. It's about integrity. And it's about the priceless value of a man who cannot be bought. At the end of it all, the billionaire learned a priceless truth. Money can buy almost anything, but it can never buy loyalty. A man who walked away from $250,000 proved that integrity is worth more than all the riches in the world. If this story moved you as much as it did me, don't forget to support the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another story that reveals the real value of life.